My name is Wendy. This is Wonky Moon Crafts podcast, episode number 3. Welcome. I'm from Northeast Ohio. I live with my husband and my cat, and I do fibery things. We'll mostly talk about knitting. I do sometimes do crochet. I do like to dye my own yarn for not all of my projects, but definitely some of my projects I will. This is going to be your basic podcast knitting format. We'll talk about what I'm wearing. We'll talk about projects I finished, projects I'm working on, future plans, and, any other maybe fibery topics or things that may be going on, and just hopefully have a good time. So I hope that sounds like something you want to do, and you'll come down, sit down and hang out with me for a bit. Let's get started. Whips. So I have a whip here. I don't have any finished objects, but I do have a few whips. So this is my Juno Tea by Sari, Nordlund. And I had, in my last podcast, I had started this, but I had just barely started it. Like you couldn't hardly see anything. So I'm a bit further now. And let me see. Let me get it situated for you here. Okay. This is where I'm at. So this is Magpie Fibers Equinox Sport Weight yarn. This is I'm knitting the size 3 in this pattern. I have, as you can see, split for sleeves. And now I'm to the stockinette portion. I have to come back and finish off the lace sleeve portion, and I have to do the collar still, and of course finish the body. This is, I'm really excited to finish this. And let me see here if I've got the labels so I can, I do not have the label. I don't see it with me. The yarn though, and I'll put this below, I'll link to it below, but this yarn is a very nice yarn. It is a linen and silk blend. So as you can see, it's very drapey. It's nice to touch. You can feel that silk in it just enough. The linen is not crunchy. It is not. It is it's just really nice. This currently is my number 1 priority project to finish because I am running out of weather that I will be able to wear this in. So my goal is at a minimum to have this done by the end of September. The next thing I want to do on this, so I have this is still the first ball of yarn. Once I am finished with this ball, what I want to do is put the collar on. I have not tried this on yet, and I want to try this on and see how it's fitting, to decide too if I want to maybe add a few decreases for waist shaping, as I have a very baggy sweater on right now. I have recently, well not recently, I've been doing for a while, I've been trying to lose weight, and again, living in Northeast Ohio, it's definitely a lot easier to be active in the summer. So I did a lot of running around, and I just kind of got to that point where it just became, because you slowly lose weight, right, in different places. So I just kind of got to that point recently where my measurements have changed significantly enough that I am now concerned that the size 3 might be a little bit big on me. This is meant to be a pretty close fitting top. It is supposed to have -1, I want to say it's -1 inches to like maybe 2 inches of ease, positive 2 inches of ease. So when I had originally chose the size 3, the measurements would have put me at 0 ease. But since then my measurements have changed by 2 inches. So I am definitely a little concerned that I may need to put some shaping in. But on the same token, I haven't tried it on. This is sport weight. The pattern calls for fingering weight. I don't really know how my gauge is coming out because, as I've really come to realize lately, my gauge swatches really have no bearing on how I actually knit when I do a garment. So which is something I did change recently, how I do swatches, so that hopefully they actually serve a purpose, instead of me just making them and then my gauge being completely different anyway. So yeah, let me show you a little bit of I love this color. This is the La Freak. It is actually discontinued. They told me when I bought it that this was all they had left. But I don't know if you can see how amazing that lace is. I think it's going to look really good when it's been blocked, which of course it hasn't been blocked yet. So yeah, but I'm super excited to get this done and get it worn. So this is, like I said, my number one priority, as it is becoming a bit of a weather time crunch. I do plan on, so the way the pattern's written, there's a chart for the sleeves for increasing, and then there's a chart for just the main chart with no increases, and then you just do stockinette underneath. Well, so, and then once you finish the main chart, you're basically done with the sleeves. Obviously you can add length, and it is a repeatable pattern, so I can start it over, and that is what I intend to do. I think I'll block it first to be sure, so I'll keep you posted, but I want the sleeve, okay, so this is where my elbow is. I would like the sleeve to come to basically about here, and maybe it'll be better to show in the sleeve about, yeah, I'd like it to come to about here to where it ends, and the pictures look like it's more like here. So I think I'm going to do another repeat, or at least part of a repeat, to try to get that a little bit longer. I also know, this being like silk and linen, it's going to probably grow a little bit and not going to have the same bounce back. So I do have to be aware of that as well. But I think I will at least wind up doing a little bit more than the chart. So what I'm kind of thinking I'll do is the collar, and then I may even go ahead and finish the sleeves before I go back to finishing the body, like I said, once I'm done with this ball. So we'll see. I will definitely make sure to get some video of me when I finally get to try it on. And yeah, this is the Juno tee. I'm super excited about it, and I love this color. These are like jewel tones. They're my colors, so I like it a lot. Next, we have the Portobello sweater. This is a new cast on that I haven't shown. However, I have been working on it for a bit now. So I had mentioned before that I had planned to make this, and that I had planned to start it at the end of July when I started traveling. So as a recap, I started traveling at the end of July for work, and it was our busy time, and so I was basically pretty much traveling or gone from home until about the end of August, which is also, just for the record, why I haven't had a new video in a little bit. I had made some before I left to kind of stretch while I was gone, but then I wound up not coming home a few weekends when I thought I would be able to, which meant that I couldn't record new things to put out. And then honestly, I was so tired when I got home that I just needed to rest a bit, because I didn't want to put a video out where I just was exhausted and just trying to put something out. So I do think I'll be able to get back to a more regular schedule now, and but that is where I hadn't had one out in a little bit, but that is also why I've got quite a bit of this new cast on done. So this is the Portobello sweater. Now, to explain what we're looking at here, if you're not aware or familiar with this is by Cheryl Mokhtari. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Cheryl Mokhtari, who, by the way, just put out a pattern recently that looks amazing, that I really want to make. But this is the Portobello sweater, and it's basically a Henley style sweater, which I think will make a really nice, similar to the stripe pipe, just something I can throw on and wear in 90% of situations, and be comfortable and enjoy a lot. So I'm trying to kind of lay it out a little bit so you can kind of get the gist. I just did this today. I added this first part of the button band. So then the next thing you do is you add, the other part on this side with the buttonholes. The buttons will get sewn on here, and then you'll add a collar, some ribbing for a collar here. And then of course I'll be able to button this up and have a pretty good idea of how it's fitting. the button band's already making a huge difference. So similar to the Juno tee, I feel it is, and even more so than most sweaters, I feel like I really need to finish this collar so that I can really put it on and have a much better sense of how this is actually fitting me. Because, it's obviously just open. It kind of flops all over and it's really hard to tell. But so far, I really like it. I think on the back you can see the striping a little bit better and how that looks, how the two colors look together. As you can see, it is a raglan sweater. There is short row shaping to it as well. Same with the Juno tee, actually. The construction was actually very similar. And actually, I would say this one was actually closest to the Eva cardigan in how you start it, but by Petite Knit, which I was working on before I started this. So yeah, that's what this is. The yarn I'm using is Sandus Garn Duo. These are the I think that's probably the best look at it there, because I think if I get too close it kind of actually gets a little bit more washed out. Yeah, maybe that's good. Okay, still trying to figure that one out. So this is, like I said, Sandus Garn's Duo, which is 55% merino wool, 45% cotton. I really like this because it's not like that mix just makes this yarn like, yes, you can tell it's cottony, but it's not like your normal cotton because of the wool. So it feels really nice. It's a DK weight. The colors are 4344 for the darker color, and then the lighter one here is 4032. So again, that is the two colors there. They I got these from Wool & Co. On their website, I think they call them Dark Dusty Rose, and Dusty Rose is the lighter one. So something along that lines. You can find them pretty quick though. But yeah, I'm really liking it so far. And I'm really, like I said, excited about this particularly. So this is my second priority project right now. With it having the cotton in it, I just think part of the reason I wanted this was for this fall weather kind of transition where piece to wear, where it's going to be long sleeve. It's not 100% wool, but it does have some wool in it, so it's still got a little bit of memory and bounce back. So I think this will be a really nice sweater that I can wear quite a bit, and I'm really excited to finish it. So this is again the Portobello sweater by Cheryl Mokhtari. I have the Oh So Soft Ruffle socks. This was a project I had talked about wanting to casting on, but I didn't know if I would, and I did. So this is, let me see if you can, I don't know if I can get this to really show on camera how this color and what it really looks like. It's a very warm, buttery golden color. And yeah, so I have one sock done. I have the ruffle of the second sock. This is a free pattern. So here's what the deal is with this. I was starting the Portobello and I was having a little bit of trouble with the increases and things on the purl side. So it wasn't something that was super easy for me to just pick up and knit for a little while. And then at the same time, I was working on the Juno tee, and the lace was, again, I was working a lot and very long days, and I was getting really tired. So it was just a little bit more than my brain could handle I just kept making a lot of silly mistakes because I just didn't have the focus to like really pay attention. So I needed something that was a little bit simpler. So I decided to go ahead and start these. So the yarn is this yarn. This is mohair yarn that is left over from a project I had made before. I dyed this myself and made a sweater vest in this color. And then this yarn, which I held this with a DK weight yarn, so I couldn't really just make a sock with it. But then I saw this yarn at Magpie Fiber when I was picking up the Equinox, and I couldn't resist it. It is their Swanky sock yarn, and I mean, they do look like they were made to be together, right? So that is where my yarn came from. The Swanky sock, it's so soft and so smooth. It is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. We'll see how that holds up, but for now it's super soft, which is good for my So Soft Ruffle socks. And yeah, so I finished this. Now, again, even for this, I was very tired, and I made some serious mistakes on this to start out with. When I just started knitting, it was fine, but so what I did was I cast this on. So I've also never made a sock that actually fits me well. They've always been too big, or I've started some that have been too small and then I've given them to other people. So what I've found is I think my ankle is a bit bigger than my foot size. And then on my foot, the widest part of my foot is actually where the bone the bone is on the top of your foot versus like the ball of your foot, which is what most people have. My feet are also very short. I wear 6.5 US size women's. So my feet are just a little awkward, I guess, is what we're getting at. And so I've had trouble kind of figuring out socks. So I decided there's this pattern's in 3 sizes. I decided to cast it on with the second size. And I cast it on. First I did the ruffle, then I cast on the cuff. And then I put the ruffle on, and I realized the ruffle was upside down. It was a disaster. And honestly, attaching the ruffle was not hard. The instructions are super simple, but I was so tired. I missed stitches, and it was a bit of a disaster. So by the time I got done, I was like, I am absolutely not fixing this. This is gonna we're just gonna work around this somehow. I'm not taking this out. So what I did was so at that point, this is what I had. And then what I did was I kept knitting the cuff. I did an Italian bind off, which I don't know if you can see that there, gave it a real nice rounded edge. And I actually like it better than normal edge on a sock. Then I bound that off, and then I picked up the stitches at the bottom of the cuff, and then kept knitting my sock like normal. I tried it on after the cuff and realized that it was gonna be too big for me. So I did 2 rounds of decreases, 4 stitches each, 2 on either side, on 2 different rows. And then from there, the pattern itself has a heel flap and gusset in the pattern. I did the shadow wrap heel using I'll put it down below, but the No Fear sock knitting classes that Denise does on her channel, she just seems like the sweetest person, and I like her video. So that is the heel I did, and in her video she suggests that when you're working across initially, that you stop when you have 10 stitches left on the needle. When I have made them before, 10 inches seemed too small for my heel width. So I actually did 12 stitches this time, and before I worked back across. And then the other thing I did was I was just more conscious of not making my sock too long, because I feel like that's the other thing that I've done in the past is I've made my sock too long, so then you're not getting that pull that then thins out your sock a little bit, if that makes sense, like you need it to be a little tight and snug. And so I made sure to not make it too long. And so far, I mean, and then I just did a normal toe on here and Kitchener stitched it. I have not blocked this yet. But this, to me, at least just trying this on, is definitely the best fitting sock I've made for myself. So I'm pretty excited about this. This kind of finally start to get like to truly understand how this should work. So that is the So Soft Ruffle sock, and some point I'll finish the other sock. I don't want to get too far away from it, just so that it doesn't get crazy, with different tension way later, or just having a sock here or just not getting back to it. I do want these, and I do want to get it done. So I do want to get this done somewhat soonish. Probably when I finish maybe the Juno tee, I'll knock out the second sock real fast before I go on to the next thing. So, but that is my sock. I love it. Acquisitions. So, staying on the sock theme, I bought some sock yarn. I was watching the Table 10 podcast. I've really been enjoying that podcast. And they showed this yarn. And there's a lot of yarns that I look at that I like, but I already have yarn and I dye yarn. And I have projects that I don't usually typically just kind of go, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy that right now. But I had to. I love this yarn. This color is absolutely gorgeous. It is by Yarns by Pear Maiden. This is colorway Sidewalk Chalk, and it has this little mini here. And it's self-striping. And I had the immediate thought of, I'm going to do colorwork heart socks. So, and I had dyed this up a while ago, and because I was going to make some tessellated socks, and I just never got to it. And then I just kind of, the more I thought about it and kind of read the pattern and stuff, I wasn't as intrigued with that idea, but I still had this nice kind of dark blue yarn. And I already knew which socks I wanted to make. I have the Charming Colorwork Socks by Charlotte Stone of Stoneware Knits sock book. And she has these socks, the I Heart socks. And I intend to hold the blue as the background color, and then the striping Sidewalk Chalk as the hearts. So I think that once you put this together, and I'll have hopefully some beautifully pastel flecky pastel striped sock hearts with this dark blue around it to make it pop. I'm hoping it will be very pretty. I don't know when I'll get to this because, again, one, I have so many sweaters to finish and to do and so many projects I want to make. Two, as I mentioned, I'm just starting to, I feel like, figure out what stitch counts and things I need to do to make socks so that I can wear them, like so they fit my foot. So I don't really want to, I'm a little reluctant to make these that I'm so excited about having before, and then it just be the wrong fit. So I want to make sure that I kind of maybe make another sock or two before I kind of go to this that I'm really excited about. That being the case, one thing I will say is that, again, I have very small feet, so 100 gram skein of yarn, even if I do like just the normal cuff type sock, I can get 2 socks out of 100 grams. 2 pairs of socks, not 2 socks, 2 pairs of socks for my feet because my feet are small enough. So I guess if I really wanted to try it and it was a problem, like I could just make another pair. I don't really want to do that. I'm not the kind of person that really enjoys doing something like that. I would rather, like, I'm going to probably just make it and then be done with it. But, yeah. So, but I do think it could be fun though to then also just make a pair of these socks just striped and not with the hearts at all with the color work portion. Just make it striped and then have the stripes color heart ones as well. So that's something that I may wind up doing, but I am very excited about this. So again, this is Yarns by Pear Maiden. I purchased this from Cheryl Chronicles, Cheryl's Yarn Chronicles, and I'm very excited about this. So that's one acquisition. Next acquisition, I had talked about wanting to make the skirt number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I've looked at the pattern, I did a little research. It does kind of call for like a somewhat specific type of yarn, so that's not something, that's definitely a situation where I'm not going to dye things because I want a tweed yarn, and that I actually find very hard to find undyed so that you can dye it. And there's some things I just don't want to dye myself, like if there's something a little bit more unique about it or something. So that's kind of the case here, because I did want a pretty heavy wool, because it's going to be a skirt. I'm going to be sitting on it. It's going to be getting real rough. So I want something tough. I wanted something, a real nice tweed. And so looking at the pattern, looking at different things, one of the yarns that it recommends is Issachar Aran Tweed. This is the color I got. And I am obsessed. In my mind, this is like that just fall skirt that I'm going to wear with some tall boots. In my mind, this is like you're carrying books, walking through a library wearing this tweed. And then I bought, it is a little cooler. The tone of this is a little cooler than I had kind of wanted for my brown, even though I think it's beautiful. So I got this mohair that's a little bit warmer, a little more golden to hold with it. This is Issachar's silk mohair, 75% kid mohair, 25% silk. The tweed here is just 100% wool. So that is what I got. And I have swatched it. I have not blocked this yet. But this is my swatch. I don't know if that's picking up well, if you can see the little bits of like the golden silk kind of running through it. But I'm just completely obsessed. So you can see, if you want to see the like kind of, it didn't make a huge difference, but I don't know if you can tell there but the mohair did warm it up a bit. So I'm very, very excited about this. This is not, just for the record, and maybe somebody else would disagree, but this is not a soft yarn at all. This is definitely a hardier yarn. It is not something I would wear next to skin at all. But like I said, that's kind of what I want. I mean, it's a skirt. I don't want it to be soft. I don't want to have to deal with it like pilling or, I don't know. I want something that's going to be tough, and, the mohair definitely helps it a little bit. And again, maybe when I block it, it'll soften up more. I'm sure it will, but, again, I don't need it to be soft. I don't want it to be soft, so I'm not too worried about that at this point with this yarn. But if you are looking at this yarn, because it is beautiful for a project that you did want to wear, as like a sweater or something, just know that it is a rougher yarn. And if that doesn't bother you, great. If it does, you may want to make sure you wear something under it, or may just want to touch it somewhere before you buy it. But yes, that is my yarn that I got for the skirt number 1. My current intention is to cast this on probably once I'm done with the Juno tee. I will cast this on because it is so fall. I do need to make sure that I do want to make this to wear for fall, but being that it's thicker and heavier, and don't feel like it's something I need to have super right away. Like I think I'll be able to get away with wearing this through, the end of October, November type time frame, and I'll still be able to wear it in the winter and stuff. But yeah, I definitely think it's more going to be for late fall kind of look. So very excited about that. Last but not least, my other acquisition is some Scout by Kelborn Woolens. This is the color Graphite Heather. Hopefully, there we go. It is 100% wool. It is a DK weight. This is a little bit of a, it's not scratchy at all, but it is a little bit tougher. This is not like a merino wool for sure. This is a little bit tougher, but it is still soft and bouncy. This, I think you could potentially get away with wearing next to skin. I probably wouldn't go any rougher than this next to skin because I am a little sensitive. Not super sensitive, but a little bit. So this is probably the furthest I would go. But that being said, I do love it. I think it's really nice yarn. So my intention for this, here's my backstory. My husband is a very warm-blooded person, and he will often not wear, like even in the winter, like he'll wear a coat when he's outside, but he's got a t-shirt on under that. He's not wearing anything long sleeve under it. He's not wearing sweaters. Because when he's inside, he can't handle anything warmer than a t-shirt. And so he does, like, even like spring and fall when you might need that transition piece a little bit where you're not quite ready for a coat, but maybe you do need a longer sleeve. He usually wears like, he has a couple t-shirt weight zip up hoodies that he'll wear. That's kind of the equivalent, because then when he goes inside, he can take it off easily. So although in the past, I'd happily knit him a sweater, it's not really been something that we've talked about a little bit. And it's just one of those things where like, I don't know that he would really use it given those things. However, there's been a little bit of a change, I would say, lately in that front, because and I think it kind of started with I knit him a hat, which hats he's good with because he wants to cover his ears. So I had knit him a hat, and he really liked that. And then with some wool. And then I had wanted to knit him some fingerless gloves, but he was like, that's going to be, he didn't think he'd really need that. Then he started playing around with some amateur photography, like wildlife photography. So we were going to the park a lot in the winter, and then of course he's got his hands out trying to take pictures. So his fingers, of course, and his hands were cold, but he still wanted his fingers free. So I was like, I'm going to make you the fingerless mittens. So I made him fingerless mittens, and he really liked them. And so I think it kind of opened the door a little bit for him to be like, maybe that would be nice to have. So I kind of had this moment where I just on the spur of the moment was like, hey, do you want me to make you a sweater? But in the context of that, it would be essentially the equivalent of your like zip up long sleeve hoodie. But so you would throw it on over your t-shirt when you're outside or something, but like almost like a light jacket, like a 3/4 zip or something like that. And he was pretty excited about it, and he wanted that. And so we looked through patterns, and he's not really a 3/4 zip person. I showed him like the petite knits one that a lot of people have knit and liked, but that's not really his style. So I showed him what I thought he would like pattern wise, and he did, was the Stick Season sweater by Rebecca Clow of Crayabea. So that's where I saw that people had used this yarn for some projects that they had made, and I had been wanting to try it. So I went through the colors. He picked out this color, and so I got sweater's quantity of that, and then I swatched it. That is what the swatch looks like. I actually think the gauge is a little small, and I might have to go up a half a size, needle size, which I think will be good because that'll just make this fabric a little bit, a little less dense, which will be good because, like I said, he does get warm easy. And I think it'll make this, because if you stretch this just a little bit, it looks nice, the little texture here. So I think that'll be good too. So I think I might go up half a needle size, but that is, and this is how I've started doing swatches, for the record. Because I used to do the kind of fake thing where you just carry the yarn, and honestly, I think it made my gauge actually much looser than it really was. So I'm trying to do swatches actually in the round now, and hopefully that'll work. But yeah, so that is the plan. I will probably cast this on once I get a few other things done. he knows that this is not something that I will probably have done this winter. It'll more likely be something that I work on slowly over the next year and have hopefully for the following winter for him to wear. But I am definitely a little concerned about this project once I get there, because he does have very broad shoulders and very deep shoulders, maybe. He wears his typical like t-shirt size is a double XL, and when they start to wear, usually what happens is he gets a hole in the armpit, because again, he's just so big right here. But he's really not that, it's not that he's that big here. He does have a longer torso, so I'm probably going to be knitting on the body for forever. He is 6'2". So yeah, I anticipate that being a thing too. So I might have to do a little bit of shaping or something to make sure this is big enough, but this isn't too oversized here. But it does need to be something that's loose enough that it fits comfortably over a t-shirt, but not so loose that it's like crazy baggy. So that's going to be kind of the trick on that one. And the pattern, for the record, isn't, there's Rebecca Clow did include a sheet of just how to modify the pattern and things to consider if you're going to make it for more of a man's fit. But that's not actually the original pattern, so that will be an adjustment I have to look at, which again, given his kind of shape, is definitely a little bit of a concern of mine. But I'm sure we'll figure it out and it'll be okay. So that is the Kelborn Woolens Scout in Graphite Heather. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to talk about is kind of my knitting plans. And not so much my knitting plans as just to let you know what I'm doing, but more in the what I did, something I kind of went through, in case this is any help to you. So recently, I had talked about things that I wanted to knit and kind of my tentative plans. And although I'm not like I don't really worry that much about making sure that I hit these certain things and stuff like that. But at the same time, I do have projects that are kind of weather dependent, for when I can wear them. And they're also, and I do want them. Right, so I have quite a few projects right now on the needles that I do want to complete. Prior to the warmer months, I had several sweaters on the needles that I set aside, knowing that I wouldn't be able to wear them even if I finished them because it'd be too warm, and instead switched to a few warmer weather knits. So now I'm kind of also in the boat of like bringing those back and wanting to finish those, in addition to having a few other patterns that have come out recently that I also want to make, that I have yarn for now. So I definitely had a little bit of I have all this stuff. I don't know what to work on right now. I don't know where to start, kind of a situation. Because I want them all, but I know some don't make sense to work on necessarily right now as much as others, but there was just enough of it that I needed to like mentally process that and sort through it. So if you've ever been in that boat, I will tell you what I did that helped me, and maybe that'll help you too. Or maybe it's just, hey, you're not alone. But what I did was I made a list of all the projects that I wanted to keep, that I wanted to finish, that I had on the needles. And then I made a list of projects that, again, I was excited about, I want to make, I'm eager to make, and I already have the yarn for. So that was kind of my two things. So I made a list of those two things, and I won't lie, I have a lot of projects on the needles. As I kind of started, the channel and stuff, at the beginning of, I think, July is when I filmed my first one. There's quite a few things, like I said, from the last winter that I had put on hold because I knew I couldn't wear them anyway. So there's some of those projects that I will be bringing back out and going over at some point. But that being the case, I have 11 whips. And I have 4 more projects that I want to make that I have yarn for, including ones I just talked about. The skirt, number 1, the stick season sweater for my husband, and the Heartcore slipover was the other one, and the lacy loop sweater, I'm sorry, not tee. I have yarn for all of those in addition to the other 11 projects I have. So what I did was I wrote them all out. Then I went through and started from the bottom. Okay, looked at this list and went, what on here am I, and I kind of gauged 2 things. Like the main things being like how much I wanted it and how excited I was. And again, I do want them all. It's none of them are things that I want to frog. And then the other side of it was, well, seasonally, when can I actually wear this that I would finish it and still be able to wear it, right? So in that process, I kind of started from the bottom and went, okay, so I at some point started a rocket tee. Well, there's no way I'm finishing that rocket tee before it's too cold to wear. So that was like my bottom. Okay, that I'm marking that as number 15. That one will be one that we'll hopefully be able to just pick up next spring, and then I'll be able to wear that next at that point. So that's kind of how I looked at it and went through it. So on the same token, as I said kind of earlier, the Juno tee is my current number 1 priority. My goal is to finish that by the end of September, because I am very excited about it. I do have certain things in mind, events coming up in my life where I'd like to wear it, but the amount of times left seasonally that I'm going to be able to wear it is definitely dwindling down. So if I don't finish it by the end of September, or very, very close to, I kind of feel like that might kind of wash itself out seasonally. So that's kind of why my excitement level and when I can wear it, put that one at number 1 for me. So that is my number 1 priority, the thing I want to finish most. Portobello sweater, like I said, that is number 2, just because I think it'll be such a good piece that I can wear pretty much right away and wear almost year round. There's only a few months in the summer when I potentially probably not be able to wear that. So to me, that makes so much sense to finish, because once I finish it, like, I can wear it right away. There's a couple other projects I have on the needles from like last winter and things that are like bulky weight, wool, alpaca blend things that like, I'm still not going to be able to wear those probably until, December, January, February, So I'm not even though I'm very excited to wear that too, and I'm actually pretty close to done on it, that's something that like, I know even if I finished it right now, I can't wear it. So, that kind of got pushed back, whereas the Portobello got pushed forward. So that is what I did. That is how I went through them and kind of figured out what was what and what I wanted to make in what order. And and it kind of freed me up and made me feel better about like, okay, I know now, like I'm organized in my mind again of what makes sense and what to work on. And like I said, I am excited. Now, if I had a bunch of, I only have one project really that I want to frog. So that's not on my list, but if I had a bunch, I feel like if I had a bunch of projects I wanted to, like I wasn't sure if I wanted still or not, that'd be different. I think I would have started there on what I wanted to keep, what I wanted to frog, and then from there made my list of what was left that I still wanted to continue with, and how to prioritize it. But since I don't really have much of that, these are just projects I want to get done. I'm kind of starting with just, here's what I have, let's go. So yeah, that's what I did. It, like I said, it made me feel freer. It made me feel more focused. It made me feel a little less like, I just don't, I don't know how I'm going to get this done. Because what I have a tendency to do is work on 4 or 5 projects over the course of several months, and then I don't really ever finish any one project because I'm always working on so many, just a little bit here and there, which is good because I like that variety and that kind of helps me sometimes. But at the same time, there's a point where now I just have so many projects, I'm not getting them done, and I do want the project. I actually want the result, and I want to wear that too. So that is what I did. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I would love to hear in the comments how you manage those kinds of things. I would love to hear from you. I would also love to hear where you're from, what you're working on, what you're excited about. If there's any patterns or tips you have, I would love to hear them. This is kind of a new venture for me, and I'm hoping that we can build a bit of a community and that we can support each other and just be there for each other as humans, as makers, as people just in life, and going through the creative process, whatever it may be. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Okay, so that's everything I have for today. And so I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like so other people can see that you liked it. Please subscribe so that you'll get more videos when they come out. And then if you also ring the bell, that will notify you whenever I do put out new videos. That would be really a big help to me if, again, you do appreciate this content. I would appreciate that in return. And also, just a quick little kind of what is coming up. I'm kind of back now. I'm hoping to get back to a regular schedule, which my basic plan is like every 2 weeks to have a video with maybe once a month being a formal kind of podcast like this, and then once a month being something else. We'll see how that goes, because again, this is new and it's kind of fluctuating as I'm trying to figure things out. That is kind of my intention. And that being the case, a few kind of ideas I have percolating coming up for non-podcast things is I am going to a fiber festival next weekend in Southwest Ohio. It's at Young's Dairy in Yellow Springs, Ohio, and it is the Wool Gathering. I went 2 years ago. I didn't go last year, but the 2 years before that I had gone, and it's a fun time, and I'm excited to go to that. And I also in addition to liking all things fiber, I am also an avid board game player. I am well into the board game hobby, and one of my favorite board game designers and companies came out with a new board game, and worlds collide. It is a knitting board game. So I'm going to do a little video about that. Hopefully you will enjoy that, seeing a fun little way to maybe do a little knitting with some friends outside of knitting, or maybe with your family or something like that, that maybe aren't knitters, that you can still kind of enjoy. But so I do plan to put that video out, and so I think that'll be a little fun. At some point I would maybe like to do some videos where I do some yarn dyeing, because like I said, I do dye for a decent amount of my projects. I dye the yarn myself, so I would like to share that with you. Yeah, and then again, I might do some different topics or pattern bundle, whatever kind of at the moment is striking my fancy. If there's something you're particularly interested in, I'd love to hear that also in the comments. If you have some ideas or things you may like, that'd be great too. But let me know. So that's kind of what we have coming up, what my kinds of plans are for the channel and where we're headed. I hope that you want to join me on that, and all the best to everyone. And again, I hope that you had a good time hanging out with me, and that if in some way I could make your day a little bit easier, a little bit happier, just a little bit of just zoning out and doing whatever, then I am here for it. I am here for you. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, all the making and all the love. Thank you. Bye.